For tens of thousands of years, human belief lived almost entirely in the air. A spirit world was passed down through spoken fireside myths, felt during fleeting shamanic trances, or, occasionally, carved into isolated stone pillars. The religious experience was highly localized. It relied completely on human memory and the immediate presence of a spiritual guide. But as nomadic groups moved down from the highlands and settled into the fertile river valleys of Mesopotamia, their social structures expanded rapidly. Small tribes grew into thousands of people living side by side in dense, muddy settlements. This sudden density created a massive logistical tension. An oral tradition, stories that change slightly every time they are told, lacks the rigid structure necessary to bind tens of thousands of strangers together under a single shared reality. To maintain order across these massive, newly formed urban populations, the fluid rules of the spirit world needed a permanent physical body. Around 3600 BCE, the Sumerians began pressing reed styluses into wet clay, creating cuneiform, humanity's first system for recording information. By recording their myths in this medium, stories that once shifted with every generation were locked into a fixed physical state. Pressing human spirituality into solid clay created humanity's first standardized information technology. The constraints of this new written medium changed the message itself. Writing requires structure. As priests organized their ancient beliefs on tablets, the chaotic, wild spirits of animism crystallized into a highly structured pantheon. We see this transition clearly in the Enuma Elish, an ancient creation myth. It describes a universe born out of a primordial, watery chaos, which is tamed and violently split apart to form a rigid, structured cosmos. This diagram maps the Sumerian divine assembly. The gods of this structured universe functioned like a corporate bureaucracy. Each deity held a specific celestial office, like ruling the wind or managing fresh water, and each was directly linked to patronizing individual city-states. In this rigid system, a flood or a crop failure represented a specific decree handed down by the divine council. Natural events were reinterpreted as the calculated decisions of celestial executives. The Sumerians projected the political organization of their own massive city-states directly onto the heavens, creating a universe managed by celestial monarchs. This massive divine bureaucracy required a sprawling physical headquarters. Enter the Ziggurat, a towering artificial mountain dominating the city skyline. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt, ziggurats were not tombs. They were designed as an axis mundi, a literal architectural conduit built to connect the earthly plane directly to the heavenly court. The Sumerians operated on one core belief. Humanity was created specifically to perform labor and provide physical resources for these volatile, powerful gods. That ideology turned the ziggurat complex into the economic engine of the city. Citizens brought massive daily tax offerings of grain, meat, and beer to feed the celestial monarchs. To handle this massive agricultural surplus, priests used cuneiform ledgers. They recorded every single incoming offering, using the written word to track, calculate, and manage the wealth of the entire settlement. By utilizing cuneiform, the state linked spiritual devotion directly to economic taxation. They transformed religion into an administrative technology for managing large-scale human societies. Because religious liturgy now existed as a physical object, it was no longer tied to a single location or limited by a single human lifespan. This map illustrates the spread of that physical data. Standardized prayers, ritual instructions, and divine genealogies were copied onto fresh clay, studied by neighboring cultures, and exported across vast empires along early trade routes. Historical traditions point to a major migration out of this very region. According to early scriptures, a patriarch named Abraham left the Sumerian hub of Ur, traveling westward to establish a new monotheistic covenant. While Abraham physically walked away from Sumer's pantheon of volatile city gods, he carried the underlying literary architecture of their belief system with him into Canaan. The specific framework of the Sumerian administrative temple, the binding covenant, the sacred legal code, and the reverence for a supreme cosmic ruler served as the structural blueprint for Judaism and the later Abrahamic faiths. By locking their myths into physical clay, those early scribes permanently merged spiritual devotion with the written law. This transition created a template for standardized, state-sanctioned belief that became the architectural foundation for the religious systems that still organize billions of people today.